How do you make everyone's favorite buffet even better? How do you make the country's best chicken even more exciting? How do you make Thursday the best night ever? Wing night at Pizza Ranch. Boneless and traditional. A variety of sauces. All the wings you want, plus all your other buffet favorites. The country's best wing night is here, taking flight Thursday nights on the buffet. Only at Pizza Ranch. Pizza Ranch, everyone's favorite buffet.
Loud. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Jay.
All right, so the Chiefs joined the Vikings at 5-0 with a win last night in Monday Night Football, downing the New Orleans Saints 26-13. And they play without Rashee Rice, and they looked fine without him. Your thoughts on the Chiefs' win and how good this team can be this year?
Well, you hit on it. They're without their number one running back, Pacheco, who made a big difference last year. They're without their number one receiver, Rashee Rice, and they had trouble getting the ball to Kelsey. They go into a game where everybody knows that they're going to be getting the ball to Kelsey, and that Juju Smith-Schuster is probably going to have a big game. And the Chiefs are actually having trouble protecting Patrick Mahomes right now. Their offensive line is not playing at the levels it did when they won championships. And they just go ahead and do anything they want anyway. Mahomes just scrambles around, makes plays. They get it to Kelsey as often as they want. Smith-Schuster has a big game. They get enough, get 100-yard rushing out of Kareem Hunt, who's was in the NFL 3 weeks ago. It just speaks to their adaptability and their intelligence. They just figure things out. They're playing against a pretty good team, and once again showed just how hard they are to play, just how good they are defensively. I mean, McDuffie's just a phenomenal player. They've got an A1 pass rusher and disruptor in Chris Jones. They've got athletic linebackers who can cover. They have a great number one cornerback in McDuffie. And they're extremely well coached. They're just so hard to play against.
So the Saints look like world beaters the first 2 weeks, and now they've lost 3 in a row. What's going on with them?
It's honestly, it happens every year in the NFL. There are always teams that get off to a really fast start, and it just isn't real. They caught the Cowboys at the right time, and the Cowboys were not playing good run defense, and they just ran over them. They do have a good physical offensive line. They lit up, they lit things up the first 2 weeks, and then people started adapting to what they're doing. And, they appear to have a pretty good team. They've been a good defensive team for years. They have good receivers. They have an excellent running back, although I think he's banged up in Kamara. They have a good offensive line, but Derek Carr's one of those Derek Carr's kind of a Kirk Cousins style quarterback. He's a guy he can win games, he can put up numbers, but is he going to be transformative? Is he going to raise the level of your franchise? That's the question. And he looked great for 2 weeks. Now he's looked very mediocre for 3 weeks.
Jim, yesterday in the baseball playoffs, the road teams win. The Tigers win at the Guardians. And the Royals win at New York, something the Twins really struggled to do for many years. Your thoughts on the Royals and Tigers making things competitive?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this postseason is already pretty fascinating and very compelling. The Padres and the Dodgers are screaming at each other, and Machado threw a ball at the Dodgers manager, and that is high voltage stuff. And, if you're a Twins fan, you might be not only the Twins collapse in September, but now you're seeing the Royals and the Tigers just perform extremely well in the postseason. And Skubal and Reagans are going to be big factors in the division for a long time. I won't put them on exactly the same level. Reagans is very good. Skubal might be the best pitcher in baseball. He hasn't given up a run in 2 postseason outings. He's got all the moxie. He got all the pitches, all the stuff. Incredible changeup to go with a 98-mile-an-hour fastball that he can put wherever he wants. Not an encouraging couple of months here for Twins fans.
Well, and then it's the National League that's going to go today. And all of the series, I mean, they've all played 2 games now, and they're all 1-1, which is crazy.
Yeah, and it just speaks to I don't know what it speaks to. As much as the stupid financial system of Major League Baseball makes it seem like there are pure haves and have-nots, the reality is that there are different ways to build teams, and that sometimes building a young team and not relying on free agents is the way to go. And the Royals and the Tigers are both excellent young teams. The Tigers traded people away and did not trade for anybody at the trade deadline. These are not high salary teams, but there is something special about building from within and having guys who came up through the minor leagues together, added to the right veterans, and like Sal Perez is the right veteran for the Royals, and it can be kind of magical, And I just wouldn't be surprised if either the Tigers or the Royals emerge from this round.
Jim, the WNBA WNBA semifinals, the Lynx are going to take on Connecticut at home tonight at 7 o'clock, deciding Game 5. Winner gets New York in the next round. Thoughts on this series, which has been obviously competitive? You go to a Game 5 here.
Yeah, and, a lot of it is just they're both very good defensive teams. Who's going to make the shots? Basketball has a million different aspects to it, a million different things that can affect the outcome of the game. But as we saw in Game 4, you got to hit shots. And the Lynx missed 10 straight three-pointers while the game was still in doubt. If they make a reasonable number, they were a great three-point shooting team this year. If they make a reasonable percentage of those shots, they probably win. They miss them, they lose. Will they make shots tonight? I have no idea. It's going to be fascinating. Connecticut has turned it into a very physical, emotional series. So it's kind of up to the Lynx to play their game, stay out of the petty stuff, and just make shots when they're open.
Who's got the better chance to beat New York in the finals?
I would think the Lynx do. I just think the Lynx, when they're playing really well, are so efficient offensively that they match up well with New York. And they played New York very well all season. Connecticut is somewhat limited offensively. They've got to kind of bully you. They've got to hit enough shots. And New York has high-end, offensive players. I just think New York will outscore Connecticut. I think the Lynx would have the better chance, but they got to get there.
Jim, the Timberwolves played one preseason game on Friday, and we saw Dante DiVincenzo show his three-point shooting ability already, and they're going to play against Philadelphia in Iowa on Friday night this week. Your thoughts on how this team is going to mesh, and, could they be better this year than they were last year?
It's possible. And you know what? I don't know if they'll be better in the regular season. A lot of what happens in the regular season is due to injuries and adaptations. I would think they'd be a better regular season team, but it's not guaranteed. I think they'll be a better postseason team. Deeper. With Randall, they're probably going to be a more physical team. DiVincenzo is a great piece to add. I think they will have learned. One thing that people around the team have been saying is that, when they won that big Game 7 in Denver, it was almost like they had arrived at the mountaintop. And then they had to go play Dallas, and Dallas kicked their butts, And there's an art to getting through the postseason, and I think they know a lot more about what it takes to get through the postseason now. In terms of what they look like, I always tell you, don't pay attention to the preseason. It'll fool you more often than it'll educate you. The one thing I think we can take from their first preseason game is they have remarkable depth. They're all raving about the offseason that Josh Minot had, and he looked really good in his first preseason game. He might be like their 12th player. If in many years in franchise history, they'd be trying to develop Minot into a star. Now he might not get on the court. Luka Garza is a good player. He might not get on the court if there aren't injuries. They have 10 guys they really kind of have to play, and then they got another 3 or 4 who they probably should play. And you can only really play a 9-man rotation. So the good thing is if they have injuries, they have real talent behind those players. But good Lord, they're deep.
So based on that, because we know injuries are going to happen to every team, that they might be able to post a better record because when they do have to go to their depth, they're going to be able to still win games and be productive?
That's very possible. The other factor is the West is ridiculously good. Okay, now we're going to see San Antonio with Wembanyama with some experience and building around him a little bit. The West is ridiculously good. So the Wolves, I think, are a better team today than they were a year ago. They might also have more competition than they did a year ago.
Jim, the Minnesota Lynx start their regular season on Thursday. They've had some young players over the last couple of years really emerge. Are they going to need even more of that if they're going to be a playoff team this year?
I'm sorry, did you say the Wild?
The Wild, yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'll be there Thursday night for their home opener. 7 of the first 9 games are on the road. They got off to a slow start last year and never really overcame that. They didn't really add anybody of big significance. One thing to watch is the goaltending. They've had a split between Marc-Andre Fleury, who's going to be in his last year here, and Gustafsson, who's been pretty good. And then they want to develop Wallstedt, and he's their goalie of the future. Does that transition occur this year? Does it occur because they're not good and they might as well play the young guy? That'll be something to watch. Trennan will be an interesting guy to watch. Maybe he can add to their scoring if he develops. They just weren't good enough offensively last year. And where is that improvement going to come from? They're going to need guys like Foligno and Hartman and Johansson to really, kind of buck up their second level scoring. Kaprizov's great. If maybe Rossi and Boldy can be even better offensively, Zuccarello's kind of a known quantity. Can they get more scoring out of their full forward unit? They're going to need to.
Jim, will next offseason be really a big one for them since they get the Parise Suter contracts off the books, and I'm guessing they're also probably going to want to sign Kaprizov for a long-term contract.
Right. They will have a lot of work to do next year, and I do think they'll want to sign Kaprizov long-term. Rossi and Boldy might be getting to the point where they want to lock them up if they have good seasons. Eck obviously is a very valuable player to this team, so that they'll have, they'll be looking at some internal things, but I just think they're going to need to go get a star caliber player to elevate them in free agency.
Jim, one player who's really stood out for the Vikings defensively through their first 5 games is Andrew Van Ginkel. He has scored 2 defensive touchdowns. Seems like he's got great instincts. Is he just a bargain? Does he just fit better in what Brian Flores does? Did Miami miss on trying to bring him back? Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I don't know how good. I don't know what Miami's decision-making process was, but part of Miami's thing is they have an offensive coach and they're trying to pay 2 great receivers and a very talented young quarterback. And, they're spending a lot of money on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know what Miami was thinking or if they made terrible decisions or not in the context of what they're trying to achieve. I just think that this season is a triumph for the Vikings organization. General manager, scouts, and coaches working together to identify people who are underappreciated that you can get for a reasonable price who will make an immediate impact. We've seen that from Van Ginkel, from Gernard. We've seen it, from Cashman has been phenomenal. We've seen it from Aaron Jones. What a great signing. And from Sam Darnold. Now, Darnold's going to have to continue to play well, but you can see that they identified somebody they thought they could help. We don't know if it's going to last, but it's been a triumph so far. So I just think, a few years ago we were like, okay, Kwesi messed up his first draft. How's this group going to hold together if they have a bad year? Well, this last offseason, they were fantastic with their talent evaluation.
All right, Jim, what do you got in your podcasts?
We'll have the Viking Update Show and the John Krasinski Show talking about a lot of Wolves issues, including a preview of the Netflix special featuring Anthony Edwards. All that'll be out in the next 24 hours or so. We'll have Preps Day with John Millay out here soon. Randy Shaver's high school football show is blowing up, and he's got some exclusive content coming up from around the state. Check that out. Dawn of Sports. I still recommend the Chris Hockey conversation we had last week. That's still up. We have Amy Hockert from Fox 9 on this week. Mike Grimm on the Gophers and the big win. And we'll do a Chin Music later this week, catching up on all the Twins developments, and everything's at talknorth.com or on your favorite podcast app. All
right, Jim, thank you. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Jay.
It's Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist, joining us every weekday morning at this time. Follow him on Twitter at SouhanStrib. Check out his latest column in the Star Tribune or his podcast at talknorth.com. Jim, once again today, brought to you by the Green Mill in downtown St. Cloud. Next on WJON, we'll have World and National News from ABC, and that's brought to you by Executive Express.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's. For thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week, and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.